Give the man that gavel.
It's 8 o'clock, so I want to welcome everyone to our Thursday morning meeting, and the invocation this morning and pledge will be led by Commissioner McClure.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for the day of remembrance that we have for all the folks that gave their lives so that we can meet in freedom as we do. We so often forget the prices paid, and we pause to thank you for the folks that gave their lives then, the folks that in Vietnam and Desert Storm, and all the folks that are over there now. We just ask prayers and blessings on them and their families. We ask you, Lord, for wisdom as we enter our meeting this morning, that you would give us discernment that's needed to make the decisions that we need to make. And Lord, we would pray that everything that we say and that is said in this meeting would be to your honor and your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under recognitions, under recognition this morning, we have, we want to recognize someone in transportation.
Yeah,
Jeb.
we had a little oversight the other night. Normally, we do the picture and everything. Richard actually had it with him. They got the inclusive board by ARC, and of course, Richard got put on the transportation board. So Richard's here with his folks, and we'd like to take a picture with you guys to honor them for their award. Like I say, I didn't realize he had his award with him the other night, and I saw him leave it with. So my bad. So I'd like for him to come up and have a picture made with you guys.
Good. And Richard was also, wasn't he put on some
On
board?
the board, state transportation board.
Great.
Right?
Okay. Richard, come on up. Bring your family.
Bring your folks.
You haul them all on the bus?
Yeah.
Three, two, one. One more. 3, 2, 1. Good.
Good job.
Good job. Congratulations.
If you haven't registered a public address and want to speak this morning, you still can register. Next item is adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes that any commissioner wants to put on the agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, if you'll go ahead and cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Public address, Barney W. Hill.
When I question this board's reverence for the budget process, the chairman professed to be impressed by the remarks of the 3 school superintendents. He's got to be kidding. They all say the same thing. They say it in almost the same words. They say it over and over. And anybody who's ever been to more than one meeting, I think, could write the script for next year for the school superintendents, because they're doing what they're paid to do, which is to beg for money. if something unanticipated comes up this morning in your discussion, because of the way you schedule, the way you reverse the public hearing and the budget work session, there's no recourse because the public hearing has already been held. About 2006, it was in the other order. I think it should go back that way. I would like to hear in this room the voice of somebody other than myself and the people who are paid to take their positions. What I see is that you've very much moved up the schedule. You don't have to have a budget in place till July the 1st, and you ought to take advantage of that other time in between. Everything has to be at the convenience of the government. That's why you have that bloated budget format. The starting times of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. and I believe it ought to be a lot more open process. And it's not the first time I've said it.
That's the only one.
That ends our public address. Our first item on deliberations, Guy, if you'll come up, it's public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, this was put on due to the fact we didn't want to schedule a public hearing in the July meeting. So, sort of the essence of this wouldn't be heard until August. And so we wanted to put it on this morning instead of waiting. We wanted to get it on the June 25th
Right.
Board of Commissioners meeting,
So we got an item for public hearing this morning, so
just to set it for public hearing.
just to set it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this item.
So we're gonna set it for
June 25th.
June 25th. Do I have a second to set this, Okay, if you cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion on the use of the Eggers Parkway. So Zeb, if you'll
Okay, yes, sir, Mr.
get us
Chairman.
started.
As you know, right now, the state, we're working with Egger, they're wanting to use Egger Parkway. We have an agreement, at your desk. Is that what
We
it
do.
is, Casey?
Yeah, we do. We got two pieces of paper for you. Got a petition to give the road over to DOT, start that process that we need for approval. And we also have the draft letter or the draft agreement we've got to utilize the road, the $2+ million road we just built. It's got some soft spot areas, and forgive me, Mr. Yates, if I'm using the wrong terms, but it's got some low density areas per DOT that need to be fixed. So the contractor will have to come back in and what I call rehab those areas. It's not a very big area, it's not the whole driveway, but it's a small portion. It doesn't meet the spec just yet. That's in the process of being done. Meanwhile, we just got notified, I think, day before yesterday, that DOT will be closing the entrance into Egger Parkway due to putting the turnaround in. So that'll actually be on one side of the turnaround, a staging area for other subcontractors. We've worked with Egger. I think Chuck's talked to their attorney and let them know that this agreement will be pending upon the finishing of the rehab and then the retesting of those what I call soft areas. And so after all that process is done, they'll be able to, utilize the road per the agreement. They have put themselves up for any kind of damages that they may cause. But I guess where I'm going with that is that process is gonna take it's gonna take a week or so to get it rehabbed, and then probably some testing after that. DOT told us informally, we don't know for sure because due to the weather, that we won't be allowed to be on the road or anybody be on the road other than this contractor until the end of June. So the timing won't line up exactly right, but it won't be too far off as well. So here it is today, I can't even see my watch, what is it, June? The 6th, so next Monday, the contractor will be out there to do the rehab. He told me give him kind of a week, even though he expects a few days, but give him the whole week to get it done. The following week, now you're into the 3rd week of June, so you've got to finish the testing, get it back to DOT, get them to agree. By the time you do that, you're gonna be the end of June almost. So that's when this is all set in motion.
So after the contractor gets through, DOT will inspect it.
They've got to go back, test the spots, and kind of okay it, that, yep, it meets our spec, we're okay, and at that point, we can turn it over and allow Egger, I guess, to start well, actually, let me back up. They've informally told us they're not gonna allow anybody on the driveway until the end of June to finish the turnaround project. So the timing, what I mean is the timing won't exactly line up, but it won't be far off, maybe a week or a few days.
The roundabout.
The roundabout, right.
Not turnaround,
Right,
roundabout.
sorry, a roundabout piece.
And when are they gonna start the roundabout? I forgot.
I think Monday.
And so how's the contractor gonna get in there and do that?
They're gonna have barrels blocking that entrance off, and they've told us as long as the contractor, and we've already notified him, as long as he's willing to provide a person to move barrels in and out. And our contractor, I don't think will be moving a lot of vehicles. Once they get in, they're in. So it won't be a lot of traffic going this way. But they weren't keen on allowing Egger to come in and out, pulling, containers on trucks in there just yet, so. And Egger understands that. I think they're willing to let it go through the rehab, and then they know there's testing that's gotta occur afterwards.
Chuck, what's the difference in this agreement and the contract?
Nothing. You just have a different name for a document that performs the same purpose.
Okay.
You can call a contract a variety, sometimes we call them MOU, MOA, we call it an agreement. But the most significant part of this document is under paragraph 3, indemnification. And this was the language that we went back and forth with Egger in negotiating and establishing in the event that there was some damage caused to the parkway that during the time that they're using it before it is accepted by DOT, that they've got to make that right. That language under 3I, willful or negligent damage to Egger Parkway, is their promise to make it right.
And it won't come to me that the proper name for it, but most contracts have something that says any part of this is deemed to be unlawful, that shall not affect the remaining portion.
Right.
That's a waiver.
In here, is that?
Right.
That's in there. No waiver of any default of the party shall be implied from any commission to take any action on account of such default.
That's different.
This is a simple document, but it took us a while to get to this.
So we don't need
No, sir, we're good with where we are.
Okay, is there any other questions about the agreement?
Just a comment, I contacted the DOT about alternate routes, and they said that they would have something Monday, I think, and post some alternate routes for those people trying to get from down the southern part of the county to Salisbury. Because they use that Belmont Road pretty much, but they said they'd have a detour and some signage.
Any questions or other comments? Do I have a motion that would approve this agreement
So move.
And the petition too, sir.
and the petition?
Whatever we have.
We got a motion, do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next item is our work session for our budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. Zeb, you wanna lead it off?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, what you have at your places is once we start going through the public hearing and that, we always find a few things that we need to adjust, to tweak the budget to get everything correct. And you have a proposed little change sheet to the proposed budget that I gave you. But at this time, we usually turn it over to the board to, like I say, it's my budget until I hand it to you, now it's your budget. You know, this is your time to say things that you want in, out, or tweaked, so that we can bring it back for deliberation on the 11th for approval.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm gonna have Matthew come up. I just wanna take a few moments and just let him walk through a couple of these changes. We've actually got one thing we need kind of on common consent from the board on one of these items, but I'm gonna let him walk through that with you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Real quick, this shouldn't take too long. There's only really a handful of changes we've had since we presented the proposed budget. We start at the top to see the public safety contributions. I'll just go down the list and kind of one by one quickly go through them. All that is we got notified we received about $3,000 more in increased grant revenue, so, for public safety, so that's included there. The second one, the IT, that's on our staff. We just missed it when we were building the budget. It's a security contract that we had to renew. Fortunately, IT caught it, and we were able to add it back in there. The next three are sheriff SRO adjustments. All that we're really doing, it kind of washes out, it balances out. We're just moving them between different SRO. We're just aligning the budgets where they're actually being charged to. So effectively, it doesn't really change any of the SROs. It just fixes how the budget is. The one below that, the senior services one, that one we're gonna have to ask for a little bit further, something else from the board here in a second, but basically the quick background is the state notified us during the budget period. We budgeted an amount we thought we would get. We were notified it would be lower than it was, and then they notified us it would be higher. So we're just basically asking the board to help us adjust that. We're building that into the budget for approval next week, but in the interim, there's a letter that we have to send, basically that Zeb has to send notifying them that we accept the funds. So I think we can describe it a little bit better, but basically we're just gonna ask for common consent from the board to have Zeb send that letter, and then it would be approved in the budget next week. A few seconds, I'll turn you to the letter. It's in your packet. We can go over it real quick if you'd like. And then after that, we have public health. In the budget, they, due to funding, they eliminated a WIC position, WIC office support position. What they would like to do is actually add that back and eliminate a different position. Now, it basically balances out. There's about a $163 difference in workman's comp. But effectively, it's the same thing. It's just a different position they want to include in the budget. If you flip the page over, as I think we may have mentioned already, but there is Winston-Salem's charging us a lower rate for sewer, and then we pass that on to customers in Davidson County. So this correction is basically just to adjust for basically a 20% across the board reduction in sewer rates. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you flip the page over again, you've got a summary of all funds that are updated with these changes in them. Should look fairly familiar. If you see on the right, the adopted budget would be including these changes. Flip the page again, it shows it broken down just within the general fund. As you can see, there's no net position changes between what was proposed and what we're showing today. Actually, there's in the general fund. After that, the next several pages are just an updated ordinance that includes these changes. And eventually you will find this right here from the MPO, as I was talking about, some of the senior services transportation grant that we're asking you board to disapprove sending the letter. On the flip side of that is a letter that we'd have Zeb sign off and send to them. I don't know what the protocol would be for you approving it. I guess after this we can.
With common consent, if the board could just allow staff to it's basically applying for a grant. Like I said, we've got 3 different changes, and so this is the net result of those changes. It's actually lower, so it lowers county money, so I didn't think it would be any more issues. But we'll file the letter, because I think it's actually due today to the Winston-Salem MPO.
That's that 5310.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And on the back side, you can see the sewer rates if you want to glance at basically per the base rate and the volume rates, what that'll look like with the 20% reduction. We've done a calculation of what we think that'll look like for the sewer fund next year, and we think we can handle the treatment part of it.
How much is the decrease for our citizens over?
On the individual rates, it's on the very backside, sir. You go
Highlighted in yellow.
all the way to the end, you can see actually on the base rate and volume rate what that'll mean, per gallon rate.
20% lower rate, so pretty substantial.
Winston-Salem may have put us in a different, tier structure, you know, we're outside the city, normally cities have the statutory authority to charge you double rates, I think
Yeah.
they put us in a different tier, which created a reduction, and, by them creating a reduction, we lowered it, our
Lower
price to
expenses.
the customer.
That's good, 'cause it was high.
Now, they give us a capacity, we're not close to that capacity, are we?
I don't think we
I don't
are.
think
Yeah.
so, Scott Leonard usually keeps up with that.
Actually, I sent that out to the sewer committee a couple of weeks ago. I can send it to the entire board.
Yeah, okay.
That question was asked in the last sewer facility
Can't
meeting.
remember.
I'll shoot that email out to everyone.
We'll
I
get that
sent it.
information to you.
Well, if it was close, we'd know about it.
No,
Yeah.
we're nowhere.
No, I don't think we're
They went
nowhere
back
near
and
it.
done actual adjustments,
Yeah.
so we've got quite a bit left.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a good breakdown.
Scott did a good job putting information together.
A 20% reduction in that sewer is gonna greatly benefit the citizens on it. I had it, and I know if my water bill was $20, then with sewer and water, it'd be $170. I mean, it was crazy. So 20% is gonna save the citizens up there a lot of money.
And our philosophy has always been, the biggest cost in our sewer bill is the cost that Winston-Salem charges us to treat it. And we have one guy that maintains the lines, and we have utilities and maintenance and repair. And like I say, we have very little sewer that we actually operate. It's just up in the northern end going into Winston. Normally, we turn it over to Thomasville, Lexington, or maybe High Point, but like I say, we're not trying to make a killing off it, we're just trying to cover our costs, so.
I got a question here, Zeb. I just seen this and had never noticed it before. On these rates,
Yeah.
shows restaurant, cafe, or grill, $328 a month. On this, the effective rate sheet, July 1st, 2019. Compared to service station, $55 a month, professional commercial office building, $23 a month. Is this a rate that Winston-Salem charges us for a restaurant, or is that a rate that we've come up with? Because it all would depend on the size of the restaurant.
Yeah, I would assume it's probably a holdover when we first set up our billing system, but, you know, basically what Winston-Salem charges us is a flow fee, you know, that flows through that meter up in the northern end of the county, and then we get charged one single rate.
I'd like for staff to look into that, because that would be a big difference for somebody, just a mom and pop sandwich shop, compared to somebody that fed 300 or 400 people a night, but they would both pay the same rate, and that don't sound fair to me.
All right, we'll research that and come back to you. We'll be
Okay.
glad to. And that's something you can, you know, even if not in the budget process, the board can come back and change that rate.
Right,
So,
because $328 a month would be detrimental for a small business, you know, a grill or,
yeah.
okay.
And real quickly, but before I forget, if you see on, I guess it would be on the second page, on the backside of the first, just in case this question gets brought up, there were actually, it's showing an increase in expenditures and revenue for the sewer despite the 20% decrease. And really, all that's doing is we're just correcting the budget. I don't think we've changed the projected revenues in a while. Now, the actual, we're basically just adjusting the budget, revenues and expenditures, to where they do end up. In case there's any confusion why the rates are decreasing but the revenues are increasing, that's why. This time, I guess if there's.
We've historically not budgeted and we end up having to bring a budget amendment back. Maybe this will save us one from not having to do later next year.
Gotcha.
I guess at this point, board can discuss what they want.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Matt.
That's what we have right now.
If there's no more questions for Matthew, comments or some questions here at the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know we've heard from folks last meeting. I know we've talked about rescue stuff before. I know we gave them a little bump this past year. I would like to see them stay at the same rate that we paid them last year instead of reducing it back down. It wasn't that much. How much was it total? It was like,
$22,500 to Davidson Rescue and $4,500 to, Thomasville Rescue. And it
Yeah.
was for equipment.
it was less, like $27,000 total, something like that. I think.
I think the old rate before this bump last year, Davidson Rescue was at $27,500 and Thomasville was at $17,500.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I can just go ahead and pass this out, so we don't have to sling
Yeah.
the numbers
Okay.
around. I've got what they requested and
Okay.
what's in and around.
Give me one page, eh?
And the rescue squads are at the bottom of this page you're about to receive.
Yes, sir. Well.
So the way I read this, there's no change in what they requested?
The county rescue squads asked for 50,000. The current budget that's sitting here today has 27.5.
Oh, I got you, I see
Which,
it
what
now.
you don't see is the FY 18 budget, the 27.5, and if you take your eyes and go right below that to the 17.5, I basically put them back to that, the prior year. Mr. Crotts is right, because, you know, last year, the increase, the delta was supposed to be for equipment. And to me, that's one time. So those, I put it back to what we had, the funding levels we had before. But you can see what they asked for in the, FY 20 requested column there.
So the increase that you had last year was supposed to cover their equipment.
The delta piece, right, and so this 27.5 and 17.5 is really FY 18's levels as well.
Right, and I know it did cover, I think, some radios.
You know,
But the $4,500, I think, for Thomasville gets you, what, 1.5, 2 radios?
if that, yeah.
So that's why I was saying I'd like to see that stay in there one more year. I know, Davidson Rescue said they had a vehicle that was down, needs a new motor. I think they said like $4,000, to repair. Is that correct? 8,000, okay, I'm sorry. That's why I say I know that they have got some equipment needs.
I got a,
I'd like to put it back at what we did last year. It was 27,
Last year's 50 and 22.
okay, there you go.
I got a question for Davidson Rescue. Who's gonna be their spokesperson?
Thank y'all, Commissioners. I'm Danny Sams. I'm President of the Board, also the Deputy Chief of the Rescue Squad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got a question for you. I appreciate y'all doing kinda what we talked about up here for several years about getting away from the, non-emergency transport, because, that was definitely,
Right, yes, sir.
you
We
was
did.
losing your shirt tails, you know? What kind of money do you have in the bank now?
I have my treasurer here. Mr. Hodges, will you step up here, please? One of the things is the money that y'all requested, that we asked for last year. This is, one of the radios right here. We've got 4 of these and, 3 mobile. When we say mobile, they're in the truck. This was a $1,600 radio compared to what we had in the past was $400. And this is what, all the departments are facing now. This is a Kenwood here. The Motorola is right around 3,000 to 5,000. We went with the Kenwood so we could use our money more.
Right,
But
more
Mr.
wisely.
Hodges here, and he could tell you what our exact, what's in the bank now.
I just bought some Kenwoods myself, like 8 of them, so there's nothing wrong with them, that's for sure.
Morning, sir.
Hey, how are you?
It's a pleasure to be here and meet you.
Thank you.
Our present bank account, I have cut and worked, and we're right now with about 37,000. But of that is part of that 25,000 we were using to purchase radios. We're still in the process of processing, but we kept that as a balance, so we had the funds still.
So you're saying the 25,000 is for future purchases of,
Part of that.
Well, we've already used that part of that 25,000. We've got 4 radios.
And plus the
and,
others.
And plus the ones that are in the vehicles.
So you got about 30-some thousand in the bank?
37,000 is the actual balance.
Right. No CDs or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
Okay.
Off to purchase the other radios because we're waiting until the bike is actually closer to operation, because the software, the radios, once you purchase them, they'll have to be reflashed. And then the batteries also, if they're sitting on the shelf, because I got 4 radios right now. We bought 2 because we had to talk to Rowan County because of the lake. Got 2 more waiting to be brought into us, and then I gotta take them over to Rowan to get them programmed, to be able to talk to them. We gotta have their permission. But we have held off buying any more radios until it gets closer to being in operation, so they're not sitting on the shelves, and which would cause, the batteries to have to be replaced.
I got you. I'm good with that. How many volunteers do y'all have?
Right now, we got probably about 40.
40 volunteers. Okay. Like I say, I really appreciate what y'all do. I mean, Davidson County
There is
Rescue
no paid personnel at Davidson Rescue. The chiefs do not be paid, the assistant chief. My main concern is our annual bills that come, because we automatically have 32,000 paid out for the loan on the rescue building. The insurance on the vehicles and the building runs 20-some thousand.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good with it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm good with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
The total increase in the budget, if we would do this, would be how much?
It looks like 27, if you put them back to the funding levels of this year.
So they got $50,000 worth of just bills.
Do what?
Sound like they have about $50,000 in just bills as far as the equipment or the insurance and the building.
Yes, right at 50.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just briefly, I'm impressed with the fact that we made some suggestions a couple of years ago, and these folks have followed through on about everything that we've asked them to do. I worked with this organization back in the 70s with the sheriff's department. I've seen their contribution. I think they sort of got away from what they originally were designed to be, and they've made. I think they've done an excellent job of putting it together. They've got independents sitting on that board now, and I think they've done everything we've asked them to do, and they are an asset to the citizens of this county. I just want to say that. And if that's a form of a motion, Mr. Crotts, or anybody want to make an alternative?
I'd make a motion to put it back at the 50 and 25,000, or 50 and 22,000.
And that's a total of 27,000 increase.
I believe that's what yeah.
We'll make sure we're talking about the same thing.
I believe, it would be an increase of 27,000, is that correct, Mr. Casey? Or Casey? I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to put it back at 50,000 and 22,000 for the 2 rescue squads, a total increase of $27,000 to the budget.
All right, your motion again is what now?
To increase the budget by $27,000, it puts Davidson Rescue at $50,000 and Thomasville Rescue at $22,000. It affects the total budget of $27,000.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
No.
Verba? No. Okay. Is there any more discussion?
I got a comment.
Okay.
When we did this last year, that was supposed to be a one-time thing, and that was to purchase the equipment. And here we're running up on another year, it's a second one-time thing. So, we need.
Come back up.
Sure.
Thank y'all again for listening. This was brought to us last year, but the rescue squad still has to operate. And like I said, you know, we do 2 fundraisers a year.
Understand.
We even have a person that comes in as a professional that takes care of doing our fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And, he suggested doing another one. And we told him we didn't want to, a lot of times is what happens is you wear out your welcome when you start having too many fundraisers and everything. And like I said, the board looked into this, and right now, y'all are the only resource that we have is through the county that gives us our funds to be able to operate. Like I said, you know, we even looked at downsizing our equipment to meet, you know, if we had to stay with the 27.5, what would we do next? You know, we can't continue having fundraisers 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 a year to meet the needs. We still want to serve our community in whatever the county needs us to do.
I understand that, and I don't have any issue with, you know, with what you
Right.
do or how you do it. What I'm saying is that if this gonna be, if you need more money, it shouldn't be a one-time thing.
Right.
It should be something that is presented to the board, for an increasing amount of money, let the board pass on it one way or the other, but to keep coming back every year for a one-time thing.
We've even, you know, I've met with, Commissioner Krotz and also Commissioner Elliott and, also you, Mr. McClure. And, you know, we're trying to look at what is the best option for the 2 rescue squads to continue operating in Davidson County.
Right.
You know, we're not on a fire tax or nothing, and
Makes it a little
nobody
hard.
could come up with any answers other than, you know, one time Mr. Krotz even mentioned this, was the 2 rescue squads combined to 1. And, you know, that way it wouldn't be Thomasville coming asking for money, it wouldn't be Davis County coming asking for money. And how could we benefit the county at its most dollars to be able to save, that we're not both up here every year begging for money?
Right, I was just commenting on the.
Right.
On the one-time
Like I
thing.
said, you know, we've even went back to United Way, and we still stand by for all their events, even though we're not funded by United Way, but out of state United Way agencies, sometimes we receive money from them, where someone that lived in Lexington, worked in Lexington, now is moved further and donate to the rescue squad, and that money comes from out of state from United Way.
All right,
And,
thank you.
like I said, right now, y'all are the only ones that we could look to as far as, you know, be able to stay to answer the calls and help our citizens of Davidson County.
I understand, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I agree with Commissioner McClure. And I think the point that may be missed here is correct me if I'm correct, is the fact that the rescue squads need to submit their budget, and we need to examine that request based on the merits. This one-time thing, I think, came about when the records were not up to date. The
Right.
rescue squad didn't have a direction. They were operating a service that was costing them great deals of money. And I think we said, either get your act together or you
The
may
last
lose your
3 years,
funding.
like I said, I met with Casey
Yeah.
and I've met with Mr. Hanner and, you know, and everything. And, you know, we took their advice and went back to our board and changed our board. The board meets monthly, and everything. I also invited, you know, the commissioners to come to our board meetings.
Right.
To see how this is handled. And like I said, you know, we took our low priorities and pushed them down. See, but, you know, like Mr. Krotz said, that we've got a frontline rescue truck that's not being able to run. We had to take equipment off of it, put it on another truck to run the calls.
But I agree with Commissioner McClure that we just need to look at the request.
When you were here for our public hearing,
Yes, sir.
didn't you say you'd added services though since last year?
No, we're not adding those services. We've kept what this,
Didn't you
Mis-
say
Mr. Hanna brought this to our-
that Thomasville and Davidson County both responded to all the calls now that,
we answer all the calls that we're dispatched to as far as, you know, that we can do it with volunteers.
but y'all both answer them now?
Right.
What I'm, Eric, Morning, Chief. What I said was the increased, car wrecks on I-85. It used to be that they dispatched Davidson County Rescue from Rowan County to Randolph, or to Thomasville rather, okay?
Okay.
And then Thomasville ran from their side down to maybe 64. And what I done and talked to, Chief Hoover was due to the low volunteers that every department has, from 94 to 102, both services be dispatched to them. That way, we know that if there's a traffic accident between 94 and 102, north and south, you're gonna have a heavy rescue vehicle responding to it, either from them or us. We haven't added service, we just added a dispatch, just tweaked the dispatch. That way, a lot of times, they're having to turn around and come back, and we're having to turn around and come back. So that's what we've added, just, we're working together and providing better coverage on I-85.
So you have 7 miles of overlapping
Right.
jurisdictions,
yeah.
but it's to make sure that you got enough.
Make sure, yeah.
Okay, but that still would be adding services that they didn't, if they didn't overlap it and now they overlap.
What we're trying to do is, you know, like I said, Thomasville Rescue Squad and Davis County Rescue Squad, we've had to keep our membership down.
And I understand why you do it.
And what we're doing
I
that is, that way there is something being dispatched there. You know, Brandon's people may not be able to be there, but if I've got people that's available, we're gonna help them as far as, if I don't have people, he's gonna help me on days that, like I said, I work, you know, 8 to 5 job, and I can't run every call, but try to be there when I can.
And I agree, I'm not arguing, I realize why you
Right.
do it, and I think it's good that you do it. But what I'm saying, you are adding some services from last year.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, that's what we're trying to do is, take the advice that has been given to us from y'all and from our county manager, assistant county manager, even if, you know, as the boards look together, is that Thomasville and Davis County do merge at some point, that it would be, instead of doing 2 services, it'd be 1 service. And, you know, this has been what's been brought to us from y'all, is, you know, hey, we need to look at something, we want to keep rescue squads in Davidson County, but instead of it being 2 separate squads, be 1 squad, you know. That's what we're trying to work out. And we do have a good working relationship with Thomasville Rescue Squad. We have been for the last 3 years. You know, I can't help what was in the past, is like used to, Davis County Rescue Squad didn't go past the college, and Thomasville Rescue Squad didn't come past the college. We don't wanna have that. We're all in it the same
A
thing.
man wouldn't go past college. I lived in Thomasville, I wouldn't come to Lexington.
All right. We appreciate it. Like I said, we thank y'all for everything that y'all do. Thank y'all for supporting us and everything.
Casey,
Do you have any other comments or any?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to ask Casey a couple questions. Has the increase for these 2 squads, like for the past 5 years, gone up, or has it been kind of a straight line? 50,000 for the last 5 years?
I don't have those
in a
numbers in front,
row?
but we have gone up, yes, we have, and it's.
Each of those years?
Mr. Shell's point, I think, is probably well taken. It's been chasing kind of a number, but also kind of them correcting for parts of the business that weren't exactly making money, and the transport piece is the one. So
Right.
I think what my ears are hearing is the 50 probably becomes our new baseline, which is good, because we actually have now we have a number that's our floor. And we're not chasing, if that makes sense.
See, I'm not so sure about that, okay? Because the reason we discussed this originally, about 2 years, I think, Karen, was.
Yeah, I'm not here,
Before
so that's
we've
the
been
reason
at
I need some
50,000.
background.
Ms. Wafford, I could answer one of your questions
Okay.
is,
Wait,
Hold on.
hold on, man.
Wait,
He's got the story right
I think it was about 2 years that we gave them $50,000. I think we increased it about 2 years ago.
I'd
Is
have
that
to
right?
look. We did
Maybe
move it
1 year or
around.
2
Yeah,
years
yeah.
before that. And like I say, one of the reasons we didn't wanna continue with the 50,000 year after year after year is not get them dependent upon the county for their funds. You know, we was gonna help them buy some radios and get them out of, financial difficulties caused by, the non-emergency transport. So that's where all this goes back to. So I'm not so sure that I'm crazy about going to the 50 grand every year, because I don't want them to become dependent upon, you know,
I
us.
understand what you're saying, Mr. Yates. One of the things is, like I said, go back 3 years, before I've been an officer in the squad for almost 20 years. We were supported by United Way and the money that we got from the county. And, we started a NET program. We would do the non-emergency transports. It helped out that took some of the load off of Davidson County EMS from doing the transports from the local hospitals back to the nursing homes. That service did good, but then it got to a point that, it was uncollectible debts that was going out, and it was more going out than what was coming in. And, you know, this was brought to the board before me that they needed to do something. When I come in as the board president, the first thing I done was sit down with Mr. Hanner and Mr. Casey. And, they told me, said, this is what you need to do. And then we met with a couple of commissioners, Mr. Krotz and all of them. We took their advice and went back and done what needed to be done. Was we had to shut the NET program down. If not, we would have shut the doors to Davis County Rescue Squad down 3 years ago.
Okay.
And like I said, you got questions?
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Number one, I'm glad you took the board's position and their advice. That's huge. Number two, I don't have a problem giving you the $50,000 this year, but it is a one-time deal. And next year, I would like to see a more detailed budget of operations, what you need. And obviously, you have to plan in for breakdowns, trucks like that, but also, showing us other fundraisers, what you have here. You know, we don't want the doors to shut down, but like Commissioner Yates said, we don't wanna have the brunt for y'all to be dependent on.
I understand.
You know, so,
Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that you listened to the board, y'all have made the changes. It gives me hope that any future recommendations will be heard and acted upon. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
I think that pretty much goes to, Mr. Chairman, to what Commissioner McClure said.
Yes.
That's still a way for one-time deal, and if you said a 50 base, then that's a one-time deal.
Yes, sir.
And so I think we need to look at the request and examine the merits of it each year and move forward.
I agree with y'all.
Mr. Chairman, call a question.
But, maybe to answer that question or to ask the question, when you like that 50,000, are you saying that's gonna be the base now, or?
No, I was saying that I think each year we just need to take a look and see what the request is.
Yeah.
All right, now Debbie, what was the, motion?
To approve the increase of 27,000.
The Davidson County Rescue to 50,000, and to increase the Thomasville Rescue Squad to 22,000, which is a $27,000 overall increase in the budget.
Okay, and we've got a motion and a second. All right, this vote.
Purple.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's, we got it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there's also a common consent of just going ahead and allowing staff to send the letter on for the transportation piece, that'd be helpful if I can kind of
Say
have
it
that as
again.
well. The common consent to send the letter from staff to get the senior services transportation piece under, cause that money's
Oh,
already
yeah.
included and roll
Yeah.
on Tuesday night, okay?
Okay. Are there any other, comments or items? We got, I know we got one meeting at 9:00 that you've gotta go to, so let's move on. What else you got on the budget?
Motion adjourned?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't have anything else.
Are there any other questions on the budget, or?
I'm gonna speak with them about the, Mosley meeting.
Yes. While you're here and we're talking budget, you know, we approved the money for the Mosley Architects to do Monday, June 10th at 1:00 at the Sheriff's Department. The Facilities Committee is going to, attend, that first meeting to start the process. We also want to know if any of the other board members want to attend that meeting. If we do, we have to do a special notice. So I guess the question is, do any of the other four that's not on the committee want to attend that meeting?
Time to send out a notice? And what's the date?
For as long as I get the
June
notice out by
10th,
1:00
Monday,
today,
June
I've
10th
got
at
versions ready to go.
1:00 at the Sheriff's Department.
I'd like to. I'd like to attend.
Me too.
That's why
Okay, I'll go ahead and put it on everyone's calendar, and we'll just notice it in a special meeting.
Yeah,
of the
and
board.
from then on, I think it's gonna revert back to the I've talked to Mosley and make it a part of the Facilities Committee meeting as we move forward, so, because it is a,
I fully trust the facility committee to bring back their opinion. I'll back them.
but I thought
I do
maybe the
too.
first meeting, y'all could hear everything that was said and then move forward. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Got a motion to adjourn second?
all right, before we adjourn, just say the budget will be on the June the 11th, agenda for adoption. Now we've got a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. We adjourn.